Yesterday, the NUP went to the Constitutional Court so that they can prevent the UPDF Act from being enforced by the dictator. We all know the UPDF Act was passed. The Constitutional Court had come out to nullify civilians being tried in the military courts. Museveni, since he used to use the military courts to settle political scores, he went to Parliament so that they can make a new law so that civilians can be tried in the military court, which is unfortunate. For a very long period of time, the military courts has always been used as a kangaroo court. Even soldiers themselves never used to get justice. For example, no opposition contender has never tested the military court. Every person who comes out to run against General Kaguta Museveni, they have always taken him to these courts, which is unfortunate. Okay? And they put fictitious charges. People have spent years in prison because of these military courts. So when the Constitutional Court helped us to nullify it, General Museveni went and repealed the law so that it can function. Good enough, NUP has started a process of nullifying this unfortunate law. In every dictatorship, whenever you see a law that is not logical, that is aimed at trying civilians in courts which are not supposed to try them, for me, I'm a believer that military courts should just be a disciplinary court even to soldiers, because even soldiers don't get justice. Some people speak as if only soldiers must be tried there. Even soldiers don't get justice. Here's an example. I never liked Kaihura. In fact, Kaihura should rot in jail, but him being tried in a military court was unconstitutional for a very long period of time. In fact, I'm a firm believer that even if he would have been tried in the other courts of judicature, he would even have been convicted. Military courts are just to settle political scores. Okay, so today the NUP came out and filed in a case so that this amendment is blocked. Okay, and this is the purpose of this video. But before I do this, I want to tell you that if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you're watching this video from a different platform, please head on to YouTube, type in Sula Mawagari. There's a lot of content of this nature. If geopolitics and economics is what you want, this will be definitely the right channel for you to subscribe to. So among the NUP onchos, the Secretary General led the tinary which went to court so that the UPDF Act can be overturned. In fact, this is what happened during the process. Here's it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today at the Constitutional Court of Uganda to file this petition as the National Unity Platform. This petition is being brought by the National Unity Platform against the Attorney General of Uganda, Anita Among, the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oboth, the Minister for Defense and Veteran Affairs. We are here to petition against the reenactment of the factors that you find here. We are praying that is nullified by the Constitutional Court, which has power to do so. Like I said, we have this board of you know that for every state, that all processes they should forward passing. You remember, for example, as you want to be in the AM.
So you clearly say that even the process that they used to pass this law was unconstitutional. It is the only law that passed under 2 days. Is the only that didn't have public participation. By the way, in Kenya, they have nullified very many laws because of lack of public participation. What is that obsession General Museveni has of trying civilians in the military? Because what is that obsession? Because he knows you cannot get justice. Judges in this military courts don't even have a law background. They have never even presided over a case in their local councils of a chicken thief. They have never. Yet you give them big things of trying civilians because of terrorism. Military courts all over the world are supposed to be disciplinary. Sometimes in some jurisdiction, military courts don't have permanent judges, depending on the cases they have. If they get a case, the Chief Justice of a country designates a judge to preside over that case on an interim basis. If The case is done, then the judge goes on to do other duties. In Uganda, we have permanent judges in the military courts who don't even have a background of the law, and yet they sit on the panel to offer justice to these people. Okay? The people who are caught towards the 2021 generation, they have spent in jail for now coming to 5 years because cutters of the military courts. Okay? So we cannot sit down as our constitution is being run over by the dictatorship when we are just keeping quiet. We must come up and start talking about these issues. Let's continue with Robongoya. He has a
to submit to the committee, and that happened to many other actors, including the Uganda Law Society and many other organizations in this country. So we are saying that in enacting that law, the Parliament did not follow the procedure. But most importantly, substantive issues, because as you know, for example, the Supreme Court was very, very categorical that civilians have no role being tried in military courts. But the Parliament went ahead after General issued a petition. So that law is one to issue permanent injunction against the trial. Why the National Unity Platform has suffered advance of militants? As we speak now, we still have our comrade. Here we are here with Mama whose son has been in the order that can come forward under detention and was to get with the that in the hands of supporters of the new Richmond. Not new person, we are saying that the civilian illiteracy changes province. They are only changing provisions which relate to trials.
So this is Roboya. Okay. Talking about the injustices which have been done by the military courts. To every dissenting voice, that obsession of General Kaguta Museveni trying civilians in the military courts, we must smell the rat. I'm not saying that even other courts are competent, because very many institutions in the country are captured by the dictatorship. But the military courts in the 21st century to try civilians, like in which country? Even if by the way civilian has a gun, they can get justice. Okay, they can be tried in normal courts because our constitution allows. If a person who does murder can do that, what about military courts? Military courts are there to settle scores. Remember, in the by-election of Arua, guns were put in BOBI Wine's hotel room with the aim of trying him in the military courts. Every person who has been caught from BOBI Wine's bodyguards, Achiho Chivumbi, everyone, they implant a ready beret or some military store to try and make them in the military courts. What is that obsession? Because they know in America you can never get justice. So we must fight on to streamline our constitution, because in the 21st century we cannot have a dictator who sits on us every time he wants. We must fight on different fronts, in the courts and on the streets. Of course, that's my opinion. Do make us by commenting about this. Thank you very much for listening in. If this is your first time on YouTube channel, I implore you to subscribe, like, and comment so that I can be motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.
Yes, Kawiye Sulaiman Mawagali. I am putting in my request to fly the NUP flag high in Makinde East constituency, so that I can represent the great people of Makinde East. Nkomyewo omulundi ogwokubiri n'obwongo nga bwesera nga busera ebiwandiiko byange mbirese bibino.